following podcast is a Jill Devine Media production.
Two Kids in a Career is brought to you by Blondin Real Estate. They're a family-owned boutique-style brokerage with over 40 years of experience serving the counties that surround St. Louis. See the properties they have to offer at blondinrealestate.com. That's blondinrealestate.com.
I saw a coach and I was able to get really clear on my values and what I needed to show up, not only as a mom, but as a whole individual, because I had just completely lost myself. The Kelly that existed before motherhood, that person was scrapped completely. Oh my God, did I miss that person? And I feel like that version of me was so angry at the mom for just discarding all of her wants and needs and desires.
Evoke Creative is a proud sponsor of Two Kids and a Career. They help small business owners like me brand with purpose and market with intent. The ladies at Evoke Creative will help make your digital presence known. Learn more at evokecco.com. That's evokecco.com. Hi there and welcome to Two Kids in a Career. I'm Jill Devine. As an entrepreneur, wife, and mama, the daily grind of trying to build a business while taking care of kids and trying to maintain a healthy connection with my hubby, it's a lot. With this podcast, you're going to hear candid conversations with other moms, parenting experts who can share their knowledge and insight, or you'll just hear me rambling to get it all out. There's going to be tears, there's going to be laughter, but most importantly, there will be support. Take a listen and connect with me so we can grow and learn from one another. This is Two Kids and a Career. Welcome to episode 110 of Two Kids and a Career. And my guest this week, Kelly Fabiano. Kelly, first of all, good morning. I know that you are in California and we have a little bit of a time difference here, but how is beautiful California right now? I think it's beautiful because I don't live there. So I always, being here in the Midwest, I'm always like, oh, sunny skies. It must be amazing all the time.
Yeah, I feel every time I get asked this question from someone that is not in California, I feel, a little guilty. It's funny. It is very sunny. It's supposed to be in the 70s today. I mean, it's a gorgeous day in California. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I will say that one of my best friends used to live in San Diego and many trips were taken there. And I am just so happy I got to experience that wonderful city with her when she was there, because man, that is just beautiful, beautiful weather, beautiful scenery. I just loved that area so much.
Yeah, we actually just went there as a family for a little weekend getaway last weekend, or the weekend before last. It's so gorgeous down there. I love the beaches and just, yeah, it's perfection. San Diego is lovely.
What I liked too about San Diego is I don't know if I described this very well, so I'll try, but I like how you really are transported into different cities, literally, like La Jolla is one area, and then Pacific Beach is another, but they're all so different, but yet so close to one another. Like even here in St. Louis, we have these different cities that some would say are like that, but I don't know. I haven't experienced anything like that before. I just kind of embraced, I just felt like I was in a different area altogether, even though they were only, 10 minutes apart from one another.
Yeah, that's pretty. So I live technically in Los Angeles County. So I live in Santa Clarita, and all of, Los Angeles County, it's so different. There's so many different, each city is very different from the other. So that's my kind of daily experience over here.
Oh, yes. Well, I was just going to ask, which part of California do you live in? So tell me your favorite part, though, about living where you live in California.
Well, I'd say Santa Clarita, we moved up here primarily because we lived in the San Fernando Valley, and anyone from Los Angeles area knows the San Fernando Valley. It is a really fun place to work, and it was fun to live with just my husband and I. But then, rent prices skyrocketed. And so we decided to buy a house, and we knew that in California, that wasn't going to be possible in the next year or so. And Santa Clarita that was the only option, really. So I gotta be honest, I feel, oh gosh, I'm gonna really peeve some people off in Santa Clarita. This wasn't like my first choice of place to live. I love where we lived before, but I will say I live for my morning walks, and I have the most beautiful view. Every morning I walk up the next neighborhood up from me, and there's a hill that I walk a few times. And my view is of these rolling hills and just the clearest sky and all of these beautiful trees and flowers and plants and birds and all of that stuff. So that would be my favorite part of living here. And our closeness to the beach. Like it's maybe an hour drive. And like you were saying earlier, it's like being transported to an entirely different world.
Right.
Go from Santa Clarita to this like just beach vibe that, if I could have a beach house, my life would be complete. I'm convinced.
Goals, sister,
Yes,
goals. Well, that sounds amazing. I was closing my eyes as you were talking about that hill, and that sounds definitely worth it. Well, you said that you and your family took a little vacay. So let's talk about the family. I want to know more about who's in your households.
So I have my husband. Our house is my husband. I have a 3-year-old son and a 6-year-old son.
And what are their names?
Henry is the 3-year-old and William is the 6-year-old.
Yeah, so we're kind of in the same boat. I have 2 daughters, 3 and 5. So we're definitely in the same stage of life, season of life, I'd like to say. And one thing that I have talked about on this podcast multiple times is that, and it didn't kind of click into me until maybe it was season 4. I'm not 100% sure, but when I first started, I did a lot of asking of individuals to come on, and I made sure that I was not having anybody in the same kind of topic or business or whatever it was, because it was like, no, this is exclusive. You can only have one of this and one of that and one of this. And then it dawned on me, like, wait a minute. I know that I like options and choices, and so do pretty much everyone in the world. Like, you want to be able to find what clicks for you. Mm-hmm. And there are certain things that work for some people that don't work for the other. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you're a coach, and there are lots of coaches out there. I'm sure you can back that up yourself with whatever stats you have. But if I start limiting the certain number of coaches that I have on, or the certain whatever it may be, whatever it is, then I'm doing not only you a disservice, but I'm doing the listener a disservice. Because, again, like I said, I love being able to have choices. I like to try all kinds of different things. And then when something sticks, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that was presented to me. And I just think that any mom could use some sort of something to help them, not only as a mom, but as a woman. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love to invite different women like you on. So let's talk about how you have transitioned from where you were to what you are doing now.
Well, first, I do want to speak on, yes, I didn't realize when I went for my life coaching certification how quote unquote saturated the market was. And then in, getting involved on podcasts and hosting workshops, I realized not only are coaches pretty common, but coaches for moms are common. And as a business woman, as a solopreneur, the first thing that goes off is that scarcity mindset of, oh my gosh, I'm never going to have clients because I am a very small fish in an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And but I love what you said there, because I think that the more and more the community of coaches, coaches for moms in general, we've kind of formed this community around each other. And in that, I've realized we are all so different, and we run the gamut. It's not just being a mom, and being a whole human being allows for a lot of nuance. And I think that I may be a good fit for someone, and maybe I'm not a good fit for another person, but another coach for moms would be a perfect fit for them. I think it's so individualized, and there's definitely space for all of us, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
now
agree.
I forgot
Yes.
the question. So I went off on my soapbox.
No. And I'm glad you said that. And I was also going to chime in and interrupt you and say that it might also be the same situation if you flip it. Like, Kelly, you might not feel like a mom is really jiving with you too. I mean, that's
Mhm.
also a thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I have um, uh, kind of a consult, a discovery call, it's built into our principles and values as coaches, but also my own business values to be in the highest integrity. If I feel like what I have to offer is not a good fit for you, I have to be in my integrity and call that out. And that's my responsibility as a coach, because I'm here to serve to your highest good. If we're not a good fit, I have to be honest about that, because it's not going to serve you. And that's not how I want to run a business.
Right. All right. Now you can go back to the question.
So I started out in corporate America. I spent a good 10 years in production finance, working for studios and networks. It was a career I kind of fell into, to be honest. And I found that I had a knack for it. I was good at it. And it always feels good to be good at something.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I had really hit bottom after I gave birth to my second son, my 3-year-old. I actually I had really, really bad postpartum anxiety, and it didn't happen in the 3 months or 12 weeks I was on maternity leave. It happened as soon as I went back to work. And I wasn't really prepared for that, because I thought it pops up right away, right? And it just didn't. That wasn't the case for me. And that led to a journey in mental health, in treatment and outside help. And while I was on that journey, I realized, this career, what I'm really, again, air quotes, good at, is adding to my anxiety. It's triggering anxiety. There we go. That was the word I was looking for. And I was commuting an hour and a half in to the valley and out of the valley with at least one child in the car at each time. I will say, my partner, we are a pretty good 50-50 split. Sometimes it's 60-40, him being the 60. So I'm very blessed, and it's also the way it should be.
Yeah.
But in that, I at least had one young child stuck in a car with me for 3 hours of
Ugh.
every day, Monday through Friday. And I was telling myself, on the weekend, I'm going to be able to show up as this mom, because Monday through Friday, it wasn't happening. It was food, bath, bed. I was exhausted, completely empty, had nothing to offer my children. And my older son is, I would say, neurodivergent. There's a lot of behavioral stuff going on, and I just didn't. I felt like I was failing him. And then I was failing my job when I took time off. And because one of my kids was sick, which, as you probably know, happens for flu season is a 6-month long thing. And so it just wasn't working. And so I made the decision to, I saw a coach. And I was able to get really clear on my values and what I needed to show up, not only as a mom, but as a whole individual, because I had just completely lost myself. The Kelly that existed before motherhood, that person was scrapped completely. I felt like I wasn't allowed to bring that version of myself into parenting. And oh my God, did I miss that person? And I feel like that version of me was so angry at the mom for just discarding all of her wants and needs and desires, that I was able to really get a clear grasp on that through working with a coach. And of course, I do want to really, really mention postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression. That is not, you don't work with a coach on that. You work with a mental health professional. Coaches are not mental health professionals. My coach did not work with me on trauma and all of those things that really need to be outside help, medical outside help. So I want to make that super, super clear. But my coach was able to shine a light on that old version of me. And I was able to bring her into the fold. And then it just clicked. I was like, I have to do this. I have to support other women in rediscovering themselves and in redefining what mom life means to them, because it doesn't have to be everything.
Before we continue with this week's conversation, I'd like to talk to you about Blonde in Real Estate, one of the sponsors of the podcast. I know many individuals who are frustrated right now. They are trying to purchase a home, whether it be their first or their fifth, and they can't get it for numerous reasons. Well, I don't know if this is your case or if you know someone that is in this situation, but I am directing you to Blonde in Real Estate. You can learn more at blondeinrealestate.com, but I just want to tell you that you're not just a number to them. I don't even like to say that you are just a client to them, because you're more than a client to them. They want you to get into the home of your dreams, and they're there to encourage you. They're there to equip you with the tools that you need to help make the right decision. And sometimes they have to say, hey, this is not going to work for you right now. Just trust us. And that's what you should do. I believe me when I say trust them. You can also sign up for this awesome feature that they have where you can learn about property before it even hits the market. And that's how a lot of people are getting their homes nowadays. Head to blondinrealestate.com for more information on that. Again, it's Blondin, BLONDIN, realestate.com. All right, let's get back to this week's conversation. Okay, how do you bring old Kelly back? How do you bring old Jill back?
In working with clients, I work on them one-on-one for 3 months. And that's part of the program. I think it's very, very individualized. I think one of the first little steps someone can take that has been extremely powerful for me is to, and this sounds cheesy, but I swear it works, write down, get out a piece of paper. I'm all over the place here. Get out a piece of paper, write down everything and anything that brings you joy. And then I want you to dedicate between 5 to 15 minutes of every single day to doing something that brings you joy. And those things can be as simple as, for me, it was waking up 15 minutes earlier and having a cup of coffee in complete silence before anybody woke up. I didn't have to be a wife, a mom. I didn't have to be anything but myself with this gorgeous cup of coffee for 15 minutes. I loved to read. My God, I hadn't read in years. So I would get up early and read. put my feet on the ground for 15 minutes, anything. I actually created this, and the title, it is the cheesiest title ever, but I created these thought cards for, I have them on my website, and they have 21 activities, prompts, reflections that take no more than 15 minutes, but sometimes as little as 5 every day for 21 days to kind of get in that habit. So I would say that's the first step, is really creating like a feel good menu to pull from every day. You know, do you love music? Listen to music for 15 minutes. Take a drive, take a quick walk. Just really engage with the things that made you happy before. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's.
Yeah, totally. There's so many different things that I am thinking, and I am just going to like word vomit it all out because
Yes.
it just, let me first start with, this is kind of ironic or crazy or one of those God winks that you always hear about. But I was filling out this goal sheet for this boot camp that I'm going to be doing. For the first time ever, I wrote down, she asked me what my challenge, what at least one, she said, think of at least one challenge that you could see coming up to not help with these goals that you are coming up with.
Mm.
And for the first time ever, I wrote down that my challenge is I can't feel guilty for taking time for myself. Now, what I'm learning is, this is a whole nother podcast episode, but like my whole struggle with movement and healthy eating and all of those things combined, and that it should equal weight loss, like that is not what this is supposed to be about. This is supposed to be about moving my body and, feeling good. And I feel good. I have to learn how to not make the end goal like an end goal, that this is just part of my daily routine, and there's no end goal. There's no weight loss goal. There's no nothing. It's just feel good, because exercise is a form of self-care and it is part of being healthy. So with that, I realized like I cannot come home and feel guilty, which I will, for not being with the girls all day, but needing to take 30 minutes to work out. And that's still a little bit of a struggle for me. So that was like one of the things, like when you were saying, hey, you like to read, you like to do this, you have to do that. And so then the other thought process I was going through was, I don't know if this is right, wrong, if you have thoughts on this, but I do think that when we hear these kinds of episodes and we hear these kinds of talks, and then maybe you are, brand new mom and you are taking a drive because your partner's like, hey, go take a break, and you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I should be doing all these things. I definitely think that there is some major grace that you have to give yourself for, I don't even know how long. You cannot expect yourself as a brand new mom to come home and do all these things. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I'm hearing so much mom guilt pop.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally. I won't deny it. Yeah.
I feel like mom guilt is really just built into our programming. And I don't promise any of my clients that mom guilt is going to be completely obliterated ever. I think that it is going to pop up from time to time because it is so ingrained. My coach, she was so big on writing things down and journaling, and I'm a writer. And I was like, this is just not for me. I don't have the time to do that, but I will say two things really helped me. And I have then offered this to my clients as well. One is noting when this comes up. So maybe take a week and get a piece of paper, a notebook, your phone, voice note it, whatever's easiest for you. Note when it pops up, Notice how you're feeling. What are you doing? What's present for a week? Not longer than a week, because you really don't need to stay in your ick, right? Because mom guilt doesn't feel good. And then really take a look at that. Notice any patterns that are coming up. Is it coming up every time you go to do something for yourself? Does it come up when you're with the kids but thinking about work, or what? Does it come up when you're, quote unquote, phoning it in for dinner? When is this coming up? If you can recognize the patterns, how often it's popping up, whatever, it loses half of its power just in that. Then you get to say, oh, I see you, mom guilt. You're here. I understand that this is built into my programming and that, whatever, this is probably going to pop up again. But you don't really belong here, and I don't need to carry you. So thank you. I see you. Not for me. That was the first thing that really helped me. And also looking at that list, I was able to realize that it was kind of, man, I wasn't cutting myself any slack. You had mentioned Grace. Grace was not there. Grace was just nowhere to be found on that list. That was really helpful for me to kind of reparent that piece of me. And then another thing that I have clients do, and I do every night, is list out my daily wins. I want to credit my coach, Mandy Shakatano, for this, because this is totally not mine. This is all hers. Every night before I go to bed, I write at least 3 things. What did I get right today? And it can be as simple as, I went for a walk, I drank a lot of water, and I had a dance off with my kid. I have an entire journal now full of all the things I do right. And when I'm feeling really low, I can look back in that journal and I just have all of this contrary evidence of how I have showed up and all the great things that I am able to do on the daily. So I don't know if that's helpful, but those things have been really helpful for me. And I've noticed the wins have been really helpful for clients, the win journal.
I'm going to hit pause on this week's conversation to talk to you about another sponsor of the podcast, and that would be Evoke Creative. They are a full-service branding and marketing company owned by 2 wonderful women who I have had on the podcast before, Crystal Peterson and Tiffany Roven. And these are the ladies that developed my website, jilldevine.com. They helped me create my cover art for this podcast. They helped come up with marketing strategy for me, and they continue to do so. They are always keeping their clientele in mind. If they think of something new that might work for you, they come back and say, oh, by the way, I think you should do this. And they're just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They really do care. They are champions for you. They will help you. So whether you're looking for some brand strategy or a logo design, or you need a website design, or you want some branded apparel, Evoke Creative, they got you covered. You will love them. Tiffany and Crystal, they welcome a consult with you. They want to help your business. Learn more, evokecco.com. Let's get back into this week's conversation. Well, I've always heard of a gratitude journal, like most people have, but I like the idea of a win journal because it's also shifting your thought from and I'm trying to think of a good example, but I do remember talking to someone one time and I felt like I had failed at whatever. And she said, no, you did not fail. You did this. And I was like, well, how did we just turn that into a positive? But it was all about changing that attitude. So I really, really like the win journal. I love that.
Yeah, it's one of my, I admittedly, maybe the month past month, life got big and I don't, I don't have time for that. And I started feeling those feelings creep up again, where it was like I was going to bed at night feeling more like I failed than I succeeded.
Yeah.
And I realized, why do I not think that I need to continue to use these tools in my life? And it's just funny how those things can fall by the wayside, but I'm very happy I brought it back. And it makes it, because I'll hang on to that one thing I did wrong,
Yeah.
and that'll follow me all day, and that'll follow me when I lay my head on the pillow. If I don't recognize the things that I've done right and how I've showed up for myself and for my family, for my business, it feels like our brains just want to hang on to the mess. And I hate that. I hate that for mom.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I was thinking too about with that mom guilt. So we don't do it every night, but we try to remember as much as we can at the dinner table to say, "Oh, what was your favorite part of the day?" And we all go around. And for so long, I would always say something that happened with the girls because I felt like they needed to hear that, like, whatever it was. And then I thought,
Mhm.
"Well, wait a minute. They are being so real and authentic, and they're not saying mom and dad with a certain thing. I have to be real and authentic and tell them, like, my favorite part of the day was being able to go to lunch with my friends." And I think that that's another thing. I think we have to start thinking about that as well. I mean, I
Mm.
am such a work in progress, and I it's just a struggle because I love my kids so much. Like, I think motherhood is just so funny because you can love your kids hard, and then 30 seconds later, you're like, "Get out of my face." And then
Absolutely.
you start to feel guilty about that, and then it's like, "No, what do I do?" And it's I don't know. I just maybe it's all these little practices that do help ultimately with that.
I love that you do that. That kind of, well, there's no thorn. I was going to say rose and thorn around the table. I actually, I'm going to admit, most dinners, not some. See, I was trying to like censor myself there. Most dinners, uh, are my kids watching a PBS program at their little table right now. Um,
Yeah.
because that's just what it is right now. But I do love that you kind of caught that piece, because so you have two daughters.
Yeah.
What you are giving, oh my gosh, the permission you're giving them to have personal wins and not feel like their good day or their wins have to be attached to taking care of someone else or being in relationship with someone else is amazing. You're modeling individuality. And
And that's what I want.
oh, that's so beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't think I just can't imagine how helpful that's going to be in moving this needle a little bit further from away from the mom guilt and into I can be a mom and a whole individual. Um,
Ye
ugh,
Yeah, because I am not great, and it also goes to the whole working out and stuff too, is that I might have those conversations on the side with my husband about, "I'm so frustrated because I haven't lost any weight, or I only lost 0.5 pounds," but I will not say that in front of the girls.
mm,
I cannot. I can we, you and me, and this next generation, it has to be different. And so, as hard as it is for me to do some of the things that I'm doing, I'm trying. I mean, I do fail a lot, of course. And may I add that most of our dinner conversations to or our dinner table, we watch Family Feud together. So at least you're watching PBS. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that question's a little risque. What are we doing?
Oh my gosh. That just reminds me really quickly. I took my 6-year-old to see Jungle Cruise. I don't know what it's a Disney movie. It's a Disney movie.
Right. And I haven't watched it all the way through, so I have no idea what you're about to tell me.
Okay. So can I give a little spoiler alert or no?
Yes, if you have not seen the Jungle Cruise, this is your spoiler alert.
So I won't say who, so that'll help. Someone gets crushed, like a huge, bouldery, rocky, big mass of rock falls,
Oh.
and they get crushed to death. And I'm like, this cannot be G. This cannot be.
Oh.
And the villains are like these snaky things, and they're really, really scary looking.
Oh.
We leave the theater. It's PG-13.
Oh.
PG-13. I took my 6-year-old, and that's not to say, I'm sure there are plenty of PG-13 movies that probably are okay for a 6-year-old to watch. Can I tell you, I then verbalized that to my son. I go, oh my gosh, it was PG-13 and it was so violent. Oh my gosh. He goes to his teacher the next day and says, my mom had me watch the most violent PG-13 movie yesterday. And that was, he probably mentioned that like a dozen times to his teacher. So I really love that. But yeah, so it's cute. I feel like that just sorry, I just had to share that.
No,
of course.
it is funny though, because there have been movies that we put on from Disney too, and I'm like, what? But then it's like, hello, you're the parent. You should know. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't have any idea.
And I actually get that feedback from my 6-year-old. Like, what were you thinking, Mom? This was
Come on, Mom.
like,
you just failed me, and I'm going to tell everybody.
Exactly, everybody.
This is exactly why I love offering up this space to all kinds of individuals that are in the same space, because you never know. There is a connection that can be formed and can be made. And I just appreciate your honesty. So as we start to wrap things up here, maybe hit on a couple things that we didn't talk about that you want to discuss now, and then we'll, of course, get out all of your information. All right, I'd like to highlight Blonde in Real Estate one more time in this week's episode. Virtual is kind of the thing everybody likes to do. Sometimes you get burnt out on it, and sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, this is such a great thing. And if you want to look at some of the listings that Blonde in Real Estate has from the comfort of your own home, virtual tours, they have them. They are ready to show you at blondinrealestate.com. And while you're there, sign up for this wonderful feature. You'll get an email once a week with all the different properties that you can either buy or sell, really, before it hits the market. And this is how a lot of people are doing it now. This is how a lot of people are getting their houses sold or buying their house, by knowing before anyone else. All of it is at blondinrealestate.com. All right, back into this week's conversation.
Okay, so one of the things I find really important, and this is very well, now it was do as I say, not as I do, but it's turning into do as I say, I do it too. Is building your village. You had just met, and this is a perfect segue into that. This conversation that we're having, I could talk to you for hours, and
same.
We've never met, but we have this common bond that makes me feel less alone. It makes me feel like I'm a human, and I have these positive, bubbling going on in my chest. I'm just like, my heart's just expanding, and I'm just feeling so energized by this conversation. And I think,
same.
oh, I love that. I'll share that with my 6-year-old. When we moved to Santa Clarita, we had no one up here. My extended family, my mom and brother and sister, they live in Northern California. It's about a 5-hour drive. My husband's family lives in Washington, D.C. We had no village. We never went on dates. I went on my first play date. I'm not joking you. My first real play date was maybe 2 years ago. That means I had a child for 4 years without play dates. Just didn't do it. And with my son's, his neurodivergence, it was this very isolating fight and struggle every day. And I'll say that the moment that I realized I needed to lean on other moms and be in community with other moms, it's like this, I don't even know how heavy of a weight, hundreds of pounds, was lifted off my shoulders. So if there's one thing that I can't stress enough, it is so important to build your community. In motherhood and just in humanhood, we have to be able to go through things as a community. We weren't meant to do it alone. I'm reading All About Love by Bell Hooks, and there's a chapter on just the necessity for community and how we now, we are so isolated, and it makes it really hard to not have a great divide, because there's a lot of, and I won't get into that because that is a whole other podcast. But going through things as a community really allows for grace, which we've talked about. It allows for forgiveness. It allows for connection and oneness, and just that isolation and that mom guilt and overwhelm and all of the things really, really can dissipate to such an exponential degree when we have community.
And can I add that it is okay to be picky with your community, and it is okay to kick certain people out of your community.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes. Boundaries. That's another thing. We need to decide who we have in our life and who is not in our life. We don't, especially as working moms, we don't have time for people that just don't, relationships that don't serve us.
Well, I'm learning again, work in progress, but learning that it's definitely something that I struggle with, but also leaning into and trying to get some more clarification on. Okay, Kelly, how can individuals get a hold of you? Give all the deets.
Okay. So, you can contact me through my DMs, I guess. Is that into? I don't even know the verb, but into my DMs. I'm on Instagram as Kelly Lynn Life Coaching. What a mouthful. You can also email me at kelly@kellylynnlifecoaching.com. And my website is www.lifeanddeathwithkelly.com. And that death piece is because I'm also a death doula. So
that's another episode.
That's a whole different podcast. You know what? It's two sides of the same coin. So I'm just happy to provide that offering to as well. And I will say my Mom Life Reimagined program, it is a 3-month program. It's one-on-one coaching every other week with me. And we work on dropping the mom guilt, reconnecting with that pre-parent, parenting without resentment, operating from a fulfilled place, carving out space and time and space for yourself in your daily life, So if that is something that you are needing, you can contact me any of those ways, and I will be happy to hop on a call with you and see if I'm a good fit for you. And as Jill said, you're a good fit for my program.
I will have all of this info online with the show notes at jilldevine.com. Kelly, thank you so much. This has been a really great conversation that just it hit certain things with me that I wasn't thinking about. And I don't know. I feel like you said, my heart is doing a little dance right now. I love it.
Oh, I love it too. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed talking to you. It's been great.
And before I say goodbye to you today, a reminder to check out Evoke Creative at evokecco.com. The ladies behind Evoke Creative, Crystal and Tiffany, they are your champion. They want to help you succeed with your business. They say right on their website, your success is our passion. We help entrepreneurs and small businesses reach their target audience and grow through strategic planning, creative design, and digital marketing. And what they should add after that is we will hold your hand every step of the way and we will make it fun, because that's what they do. You can learn more about Evoke by going to evokecco.com, evokecco.com. And just know, no job is too small or too big. Maybe you just need a logo refresh. They got you. Maybe you need a whole new website refresh. They got you. evokecco.com. Speaking of websites, if you head to jilldevine.com, you can see all the good stuff that you need to connect with me, my social media handles. You can also subscribe for email updates. Everything is right there, also created by Evoke Creative. Thank you so much for your support of this podcast. It really means so much to me.